I hit this error yesterday while trying to set up a repo I cloned by running the npm install command. And I'm pretty sure that as a developer, most of you have also come across the same issue while setting up an existing project at your company or while debugging build failures in your CI/CD pipelines. Most developers' reaction to this issue is the same. They search the error online, they copy an override snippet from some GitHub issue page, and they paste it in their project's package.json file. And when they run the npm install command again, the error text disappears and the install works just fine. Except nobody asks, what exactly did that block just do? Today I want to show you what actually happens under the hood whenever you use overrides, because once you understand how it works, you'll also understand why this block can silently introduce runtime bugs months after you've merged it, and why we should treat these override blocks as temporary patches rather than permanent configuration for our projects. Let's start by first reading the error itself. Two lines matter here. The first one, which mentions React 19, a version of React which is already resolved because my own package.json asked for it under the dependency block. Then there is this second line, which mentions a peer dependency claim, and this is different than your normal dependencies because it is nested deep within one of the packages that we just installed. So as we can see here, the issue is happening inside the React hooks library. Let's actually go inside the node modules and see the peer dependency condition causing this particular issue. So if we open the package.json of React hooks, and if we scroll a little bit down, you'll see the block which is causing this particular error. Here's some of the nested dependencies within React hooks are requesting for version 16 or 17 of React, and this has been mentioned under the peer dependencies section, which declares that this particular version of React is required by the package, but it is expected to be provided by the consumer of the package. So the version of React which our project runs should actually have been 16 or 17, but instead we are using 19. And this is the very reason why we see this error in our console here. Now this error is no accident. It did not come because the install command is broken in some way, but it's due to the fact that npm has enforced claim checks of peer dependencies by default. And it's accurately reporting that the specific package is making a claim about the React version of a project to not be the correct one. Now let's discuss this overrides patch that developers do to make the installation work. Here we are first defining the scope of our override, which is the React hooks library. And this particular $React syntax instructs npm that whatever version I already have installed as a direct dependency, we should be using that itself for the peer dependencies. So it will force this peer requirement which React hooks had to match the version 19 instead. So what we are actually overriding is this peer dependency claim and not actually fixing any issue. And that's why the install succeeds. And we are doing it here for two libraries which are causing the installation issue. If you want to give the exact version, you can give the exact version too. So instead of writing $React and $React DOM, you could have just given the exact versions which are being used in our project. And the installation will succeed in our next try. We do not see any red text. Even build pipelines will not break because of this error. And the issue seems to be fixed. But the problem here is that npm is not aware of the code inside the library React hooks, and it does not know if the library will work safely with the React version we just enforced on it. Once we enforce the version number, the peer dependency that we had overridden has nothing left to complain about, and so npm doesn't really know if the code underneath will still work. As it's pretty evident here, React 19's internals will be very different from React 16 or 17, as it's a major version jump. The override cannot close the implementation gap that can happen because our code uses an old version of a library, so your code might break or behave in an unpredictable manner. So our overrides fix just move the moment we would find out about the mismatch npm warned us about during the install time, where it was just one installation error we could have gone through and then decided on an actual fix, to now discovering this error in runtime or worse in production, where it's a lot more expensive to trace back the root cause to this one line in package.json. So let's talk about the solutions now. The first thing to always check is whether the conflicting package still needs to exist in the scope of our project or not. And this is a very valid question, especially in our example here, because React hooks is a library which has outlived its reason for being of any utility. The core React library itself now supports hook testing natively for many versions now, so we do not need this library at all. The second thing we can do is upgrade our library with the peer conflict to its latest version, which would not have the conflict. Now in this case, we might have to update our code, as not all of the libraries are backward compatible, but it's still better than introducing bugs in the application. Lastly, if it's really unavoidable, we should always scope our overrides to a specific package which needs such a patch, as without scopes, overrides will affect every occurrence of that package across the entire dependency tree. So to fix our install issue, we could have also directly mentioned to override React and React DOM everywhere, but since the issue was just in one library, we had scoped our override. What it essentially does is that it reduces the blast radius such an override would cause. And that was it for this video. I really hope you guys learned something new today. If you are interested in learning about how npm resolves dependencies, there's a video I already made in the past on this very topic, so do go check that out and stay tuned for more such videos in the future.